An introduction to the Go Inform podcast. Today on episode 8. Hey everybody, welcome to episode 8 of the Go Inform podcast. I am your hostess Maven, and I am happy to have you here with me today. Today is just a quick episode. I thought it would be nice to take a couple minutes and just give you a little introduction to me and to the podcast, and let you know what you can expect here on the Go Informed podcast. So first off, I just want to thank everybody for joining me on any of the past episodes that you guys have listened to. This is a really big project that I have been so excited to accomplish, and it's really, really great that you guys are listening. So thank you so much. So I started the website goinform.net back in 2015, and the whole idea of what I do is to just share advice that comes from someone who's been there, because I just hate getting somewhere and you find out that if you'd only known this one thing, your life would be so much easier, or you would have more fun, or, all that kind of stuff where you show up and everybody else seems to have bought this one item that would make life so much easier, but you didn't know, and so you don't have that. That is the kind of advice that I like to share on the website, and that is the kind of advice that I want to share with you guys here on the podcast. So I call it Build a Better Vacation. That's my goal, is to help everybody have a better vacation. And the topics that I seem to really gravitate towards when it comes to this is especially theme park travel. So my daughter and I have done quite a bit of travel to Orlando in the last few years. And every time we go to the theme parks, we learn more about how to avoid the crowds, how to have a better time with less stress. And we also see a whole lot of examples of what not to do. So I really think it's super helpful if you have somebody who can share some of these insights, and if you have those insights before you go on your trip or as soon as you start planning it. And that's what I'm advocating for here, is for you guys to plan ahead and get those little tips that'll really help you have a better vacation, and also to help you get excited for your vacation. Because for me, planning the trip is a huge part of it. Because as soon as I have that thing on the calendar, then I know I'm going, and I can start imagining what it's going to be like to be there. And it's part of the fun. And it really helps kind of get through all the time in between when you start planning the trip and when you actually go on the trip. And so I'm hoping that for those of you who are planning trips to some of these wonderful locations, that this will help you get excited and get ready for your trip and be more prepared and just have more fun along the way. So when I started the website back in 2015, it really was because we were traveling to Universal Orlando, and there was information I was looking for about how to get ahead of the crowds to get especially into the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, and just different kinds of information, and I couldn't find it online. And when I was flying home from that trip, I just thought, somebody has to put this out there, and I guess it's going to be me. So I started the blog with a very little, no experience with making a website or any of that. It was really a passion project. And from that, I started writing. I started off writing about Universal Orlando and tips for visiting Universal Orlando, just really basic tips. And that post on my website is called 33 Things to Know Before You Visit Universal Orlando. And it literally came from a word cloud that I made on the plane flying home from Orlando, full of tips that I knew that my friends and family were going to ask me for when I got back. And so I posted it on the website, and I kind of let it lie for a while, and I created a few other posts, but it was really just sort of a little side hustle sort of thing. And I came back a while later and looked, and a lot of people were reading this. And I realized that it's something that a lot of people want to know. And so I started writing more about Universal Orlando. I've added a lot of information about traveling to Disney World, different kind of hacks you can do to avoid the crowds, and also some basic tips. And I've also, over the years, shared information about some other places that we've liked to visit. The island of Bonaire in the Caribbean, the big island of Hawaii. If you haven't noticed, travel is a huge part of my family's lifestyle. And to be able to share some of this out to the world and let people know about these wonderful places and how to experience them and really enjoy your time, this is just a great thing. I'm really happy to be able to do it. And taking it into audio form as a podcast just seemed like the next logical step. So here we are. So the podcast is really an extension of what I've already been doing online. You're probably going to see, you guys who read my posts on the blog, you're probably going to notice most of them are turning into podcasts. So this is the best place to get your Go Informed posts. Is going to be on the podcast here. And the plan with the podcast is that it will be posting about twice a month. And you are going to see a lot of theme park stuff, especially here in the beginning. But I'm also going to share tips for other travel destinations, places that I've been, and things that I think are going to be interesting for everyone, and also useful information. So if you haven't already listened to any of the other episodes, I started the podcast in kind of a radical way, which is I put out 7 episodes over a 1 week when we first launched the podcast, and they are all about Universal Orlando. And those 7 episodes are called 7 Days to a Better Universal Orlando Vacation. And you can go and listen to them right now because this is episode 8. So those are already all out there in the world. If you are considering a trip to Universal, or if you are planning one, and you're already getting ready to go, I really highly recommend that you take a listen. If you're not going to Universal, but you're trying to figure out what all the fuss is about, I took 3 of those episodes and did virtual tours in different theme parks at Universal. Maybe take a look and see and listen and listen to one of them and see what it's like to go through one of these parks. It might just make you think you might want to visit. And you should know that Universal isn't paying me to do this. I wish they were, but they're not. This is really just because I'm a total fangirl of this stuff. And I want you guys who are wondering about these places to have sort of firsthand account of what it's like. So we did Universal to start off. I wanted to give everybody kind of a base of information about that. And I think another topic that deserves at least equal treatment is Disney World. So coming up next on the podcast, there's actually going to be a burst of 10 episodes, which will go out daily and this will happen in January of 2018, and that is 10 days to a better Disney World vacation. So if Disney World is something that you want to get some tips about or find out more about, that is coming up. Stay tuned for that. Those episodes will, like I said, they'll all come out kind of in one big burst over 10 days. And then I'm going to relax a little bit and I'm going to just do about 2 episodes a month. It should be every other week that we'll have something new, and I definitely will be building on the theme park information, because that is for a lot of podcasters, that can be a topic for an entire podcast. I want to kind of give you guys some other things too. So this is not just a Disney World or a Universal podcast, but you're going to see a lot of that. And we'll also be talking about things like what you should bring when you go to the beach to go snorkeling. So if you subscribe to the podcast, you can watch for all kinds of fun stuff like that. I'm hoping that these topics are fun, even if you're not necessarily planning a trip to these locations, because you can just kind of go there while you're listening and, for a little while be in a nice, warm, sunny place. So that probably is the common thread. Most everywhere that you're going to hear me talking about is a nice, warm, sunny place. So if you haven't already subscribed to the podcast, this is a great time to do that. So if you're listening on a podcast app, just hit subscribe under the Go Inform podcast, and that way you won't miss any future episodes. And if you are listening to this podcast on my website, goinform.net, the best way to find out about new episodes is to subscribe to my email newsletter list. And you can do that by going to goinform.net/newsletter, or just go to goinform.net and just click the newsletter button in the top menu. And anytime I have a new podcast, I'll send out a message so you'll know that it's out there. You can also follow me on social media, on Facebook, on Pinterest, on Instagram. Just look for goinform.net or Go Inform Podcast on any of those platforms, and follow me over there. So again, I really want to thank you for joining me for these first few episodes of the podcast. I look forward to lots more fun adventures with you guys, and I will see you in January to talk about Disney World. And wherever you are planning to go, I really hope you have a wonderful vacation.